Ready. 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 299 of the KBMOD podcast. Almost at that big 300. It's November 5th, 2017, and I am joined this evening by KD Zen and Yingity
hey,
Yang.
It's done. It's me.
How are you, gentlemen?
I'm doing pretty well. Can't
Like
speak for Ying, but been having a
Ying-
great week.
Ying looks like he's doing pretty well. He's well rested after missing last week. He caught up on all that paperwork.
Oh, that's right.
He's had a full 2 weeks between casts. So
Exactly.
we're expecting his energy to carry the day.
The cast for it feels like it's been forever because we didn't have the cast during TwitchCon obviously, and
Yeah.
it's been a while.
Yeah, we brought this up.
Welcome back.
I brought this up, and since you're here, we might as well just discuss it directly and get everything out in the open. I never
not
saw
drama.
you during TwitchCon.
I know, and I don't know how that happened because all that Scott and all those guys could talk about was how often they ran into you,
I know.
just by chance. But every time, and which sucks because I spent most of my time with that group.
Yeah, it's all. I mean,
Somehow.
it is truly just such a coincidence.
That is really weird, Ying, how just at any possible chance you did not run into Brandon. You can't help but question it a little bit, you know?
Did you guys? Is there a conspiracy theory here?
I don't know.
mean, hey, look,
Is there?
that's not for me to say, but I'm just saying, like, when you just look at the facts objectively, the chances seem low. The chances seem low that all of these different things had to fall right into place for us to not run into each other the entire weekend. So it leaves one to suspect, like, what if I didn't run into you, but you ran into me, right? You were
What?
aware of my presence. I was not aware of yours.
Ooh. I'm sure somewhere on Twitter
Oh.
there's like a group photo of APL's entire crew, and you just see, or any shot of them with Brandon where Ying's not there, you see him far off in the distance.
Yeah, I'm like
peeking
way
around
in
a
the
corner.
back.
Yeah, just we've crafted a complex algorithm determining when you will not see Brandon, or when you
I'm
will
gonna
and
need
won't
to go
see
through all the IRL stream footage and see if
Right,
see if I
yeah.
can track your actual whereabouts throughout the convention and see.
Yeah,
What
if,
about this? What
My
about this
efforts,
clip
my
right
efforts
here?
at managing to not run into you is sort of like the Lyft app where you can see all the cars and where they are at that exact moment.
Yeah.
Except it's just the KBMOD
Oh, yeah.
on the map that's moving around the convention center.
As you get
Yeah,
closer, it transcends into doom and then terror.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that past you, Yang. You're a smart guy. You know how to use technology.
Oh, I'm get that app in a heartbeat.
And
It's just
when you're there with a
only-
group, you've effectively got a bunch of spies, and I'm just one
It's
man.
true.
You could basically track my location all day, and I wouldn't be any the wiser.
Would that be-
The way that you're saying this, you're so complacent about it. I feel like you're about to bust through the window behind me or something. You're like, yeah, it's so weird that you always know where I am. It's just so crazy.
You don't have any mirrors in your room, do you? Like any
Oh
large
god.
mirrors? Okay.
All we're missing
No,
though is the motivation. I don't know why I would be avoiding you.
I don't either.
Mhm.
I don't either. That's what I've been trying to piece together in my mind ever since I flew back. It is hard to understand. So yeah, I guess what we will just chalk it up to, as you say, coincidence that we didn't see each other. But in any case, I'm glad you are back with us digitally on our podcast this evening. Scott, I should mention,
Convenient.
Scott is not here, and for once he has a pretty good excuse. This is perhaps the most legitimate excuse he's had yet. He and his girlfriend are having a baby shower today, so you can send them all your digital congratulations. Or I guess maybe don't congratulate them on the baby shower, but that's like, the baby's not here yet, but they got gifts for the baby to be here. So, I guess congratulate
Right.
them on it. They're getting close.
So here's a question.
Mhm.
What's the world record for youngest human to appear on a podcast? I'm thinking, as soon as Delaney is born, what's the suitable moment we can set her up in front of the computer, put him in front of like a possibly to wear an Astro headset, maybe a Blue Yeti microphone,
That's
and
a good
have
point.
the podcast. If we're going for like a Guinness World Record, that's something that KBMOD needs under its belt. Award-winning podcast.
That's true. I think Scott was talking about, once she's born, trying to get some baby sponsors on board, because like
Ooh.
that you're talking about gaming companies, that's all been done on Twitch, but the baby companies, right? None of us are getting any younger, so at some point, people are having children. Those baby companies, Twitch is going to be the primary audience they want to hit. So, Scott may be just on the cusp of that next big wave of money coming into the scene.
Right.
What about how kids like years ago had easy bake ovens because they all want to be bakers, right? What if they were like easy stream desks?
Ooh.
And you had like a play set of like a streaming desk. You've got your boom on the mic. You've got there's like the speed running set where you have like a Nintendo 64 with the Japanese version of the game. There's like a podcast deck. Oh,
instead of like a little telephone or something, like a play telephone, it's actually like a play streaming desk. It's just a full. You have everything a pro would have, except they're just like it's like fake little plastic peripherals.
Yeah, you've got the triple monitor setup. You've got the Blue Yeti. You've got the Elgato stream hub. I think kids would buy it because kids, they're all wanting to be YouTubers, Twitch streamers.
Yeah,
there's definitely a market for it.
It's just like a little sticker on the front of a plastic screen, and it says like and subscribe. It says thanks for the donation.
Yes.
Thanks for following.
Like how when you're on Streamlabs and you hit like test follow alert or test donation alert, it just does that 24/7, and so you can like rehearse. Thanks for the donation.
Yeah, exactly.
Mom? Oh man, I would buy. I wouldn't buy it.
It's got to come with. It has to come with like a code for software. It's gonna be like OBS Kids or something like that.
Oh, you get like 3 months of XSplit when you buy it.
Oh, that's fantastic!
What a partnership that would be.
That's fantastic. See, that's what I'm saying is that we think this is funny in 2017, but let's give it a decade. All right, someone put a quick reminder out there for a decade from now and see if this isn't a real thing. Because I bet it will be.
I believe it, dude.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
I was also thinking too, on the topic of tracking Brandon's location, what if there was like what if there was an app like for KBMOD subscribers where you download the app, you sign in with your Twitch, and then like it registers your sub, and you see like a KBMOD A. You can go and see like it's basically Google Maps, but you see exactly where in the world your KBMOD subscribers are. So they're like spread across the USA, and they're little. I mean, you could probably track somebody down and kill them with this software, but that's just an unfortunate side effect of knowing someone's. I mean, that's really up to the the wielder of such a tool, but that's regardless. I just think it'd be cool to little KBMOD community. That way, if you want to meet up with people, you can see where they're at.
Yeah.
Maybe it would shorten it down to like a mile radius around their location.
Now that definitely wouldn't be used for harassment.
No.
Seems like a really good idea.
No way.
Oh, I mean, I
you know what? If you find someone to work on that app for us, maybe learn some coding skills. You can launch a KBMOD app. See if people give you location permissions. Maybe they will. Maybe people want that. Let the demand of the market decide.
First, you've got notifications saying, this app will display advertisements. Now they're going to be notifications saying this app will literally take pictures without your consent of where your location is.
Yeah, as long as people know up front. And I bet you, I bet you they'll still click accept. They'll still click accept.
That's true, yeah. In the name of KBMOD.
That's right. That's right. What have you guys been up to this week? What have we been doing? Anything fun? Anything interesting?
Well, I recently got a new job.
Oh, and congratulations.
Yeah. The retail life was just a bit too much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rant about that, but I mean, I think I've talked about it enough before where it's just, some people can handle the stress of being in, an environment like that where it's like insanely busy and there are only like 2 or 3 people working at once, it's just a little bit too stressful for me. So I got a job as like a gallery guide at the IMA, the local museum for me.
Cool.
I'm not trying to copy Ying, not trying to steal his
I was
thing.
gonna say, how rare is it that we have a podcast now with 2 people that work at a museum?
Exactly. Yeah.
What are the
It's not a
chances?
coincidence.
It is
So-
quite a coincidence, man. The coincidences are just flowing.
Katie, yeah,
Yeah, they're everywhere today.
Yep. Soon he's gonna
What's
move to
going on?
Canada. Next, he'll start avoiding Brandon.
Yes, I'll just never talk to him.
There's coincidences
Oh, man.
everywhere you look.
Ah, it's so odd.
Ah, man. But yeah, I haven't started yet, but tomorrow is my first day.
And
like,
what is
kind of orientation.
what is the museum content? What is it? What is the
Well,
cultural sector it belongs to?
that is a great question for someone who's been to museums for many days. All I know is that it is the Indianapolis, yeah, Museum of Art. It's Newfields. It's got plenty of paintings. It's got plenty of abstract art. It's got plenty of contemporary art. It's got plenty of that. You talked, I think, at one point about like technology on display, like the advancement of like all the different like Mac computers and things like that. It's got like similar displays to that, where it has like some of the oldest cars and like the newest like really out there like ideas for cars they acquired and have like set up. But I mean, there's really a lot of variety in the museum, so
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it that way. But I mean,
I look forward to hearing all about the curatorial narratives.
I'm looking forward
As a
to.
gallery guide, I assume that you'll have an extensive knowledge of
I've been,
museums.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, they did stress that you have to memorize the entire like 4-story museum for people, what they want to know, which I mean is understandable. I mean,
I
but mainly
too
I'm just
cannot wait for Katie's End to be able to pronounce the phrase curatorial narratives.
curatorial narratives.
He's already
I
learning.
was so close to messing it up. Like I said that with so little confidence in myself. Oh man.
Well, that's great. So you got that new job starting up. So I'm gonna have to visit Indianapolis, check out the art scene there now that you're involved in it.
You know that Brandon's going to do a bunch of research ahead of time, and he's going to know
yeah.
all the answers to these intricate questions about the collection.
Oh, I would only go if I could ask questions that I thought could stump you and make you look foolish in front of your group.
I'm like guiding a tour around. It's more or less just, it's not really a focus on like guiding people on tours or anything. It's more just about like being basically security and telling people, if they're looking for a certain exhibit, I guess. It's mainly just telling people to get off of something if they're touching it.
Okay. So you're like the guy that if there's a kid touching the art, you got to take him out.
Yeah, I gotta fucking tackle him.
Okay. Well,
See,
that is an important job.
All the gallery guides carry around fire extinguishers fully loaded. And if push comes to shove, we just,
I see.
sometimes entire schools of children will attend, and you need to show them.
You gotta have crowd control, man.
Yeah, their actions have consequences, man. You get like more than within arm's length of that priceless circle of strings that is somehow identified as art in 2017. There's a hallway where it's literally squares and circles of wood on the walls, and someone out there is making thousands of dollars on this simplistic, really, I mean, contemporary art. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is it? You're Luke Caging it.
Hey D, something tells me that there is probably an exciting curatorial narrative behind.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
That's where the curatorial narratives will
Man.
come into play.
The hints to move on have been so strong, so I'm just gonna. Yeah, that's been my week.
That sounds exciting. What about you, Ying?
I too have spent. Well, actually, I've started. Halloween Day actually was my 2-year anniversary at the museum that I work at.
Nice.
So I had a small celebration on Halloween Day, which is
do
actually
museums-
celebrating Halloween. It had nothing
I was
to
going
do
to
with
say,
my
do museums do anything special for Halloween typically?
It depends. We will sometimes have like a special event depending on the day that Halloween falls on. Our museum just so happens to be closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, and so that didn't really work out for us because I think Halloween was on a Monday this past October. But really what I've been doing aside from work is I've been bitten so hard by Destiny 2. It's all I've been doing, which I guess leads into what we've been playing, but I really don't have much of an answer other than working and coming home and playing Destiny 2 and just really no-lifing that game.
Okay, so you're on that grind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, we can get into that because I haven't done a whole lot this week. The most exciting thing is I sat around waiting all day Friday for an iPhone, and I now have an iPhone.
Oh.
So,
okay. Which iPhone?
The new one, the iPhone 10. Why would I sit around waiting at home for anything that wasn't the iPhone 10?
What is the iPhone 10?
How, are you serious right now?
Could you perhaps be talking about the iPhone X?
Oh, I see. I see. Goodness. Pronunciation joke. Love it.
Got him.
But I actually
pull out my little joke notepad, write down this occasion.
Yeah, that's like the most exciting thing from my week. So we can move on to what we have been.
Well, hold on. How are you liking the phone?
Oh, I mean, it's an iPhone. Like, it's fine. Actually, I think the best thing about it, for me, has been the Face ID stuff. Like, it seems to work really well. Some people have said it hasn't worked all the time for them, but I have the past iPhones have had Touch ID with the fingerprint sensor. And like I have a bad habit of picking at my fingers sometimes, and it's not like my fingers are bleeding or anything. It's just like it changes the composition of your fingers a little bit if they're not exactly how you did it when you registered your fingerprint. And so the fingerprint sensor would fail for me all the time. And like if my hands were sweaty at all, like it wouldn't work. So I was excited because I was like, finally, I can hopefully not have to worry about entering my passcode all the time when the fingerprint sensor doesn't work. So it's been like way better than that. And so that's a really specific to my situation, but has made my quality of life with the phone a lot better because it's like very consistent compared to my fingerprint. So yeah, it's been good. Other than that, it's another iPhone. There's the bunny ears at the top are like a little bit weird. It's not it's not very elegant. Like actually one of the things that I didn't think I would really be, I guess I didn't realize it was a problem at first, but the battery, because it now doesn't have like the full status bar at the top, the battery percentage, like the actual number percentage, is not available anymore. Like you have to pull down the notification center or the control center to see the battery number, and I hate that because like I'm neurotic about my battery, so I just have to look and guess how much of this little battery icon is filled up. And so it's like little things that aren't a huge deal, but because I'm OCD about things, they bother me. But the phone itself is nice. I mean, it's the best iPhone ever, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
But
okay, I was just curious because I've kind of had mixed feelings on it so far. I think it's like not. I think anyone who doesn't have to be on the cutting edge of technology or doesn't care that much about the Face ID stuff should just get an iPhone 8 or 8 Plus. Like it's definitely, if I didn't have the extra money to spend on it, I wouldn't recommend someone spend the extra money on this phone. It's like it's very expensive. It's not $200 or $300 nicer than the other iPhones, so that would be my recommendation. It's like if you already know if you need one of these, right? Because you have the money to spend and you want the newest, best phone. If you're not that person, you shouldn't get it. I think people know if they aren't that person. All right. Okay.
Let's real quick before I'm dying to hear what Ying thinks about Destiny 2. But have we eaten anything interesting? We have to go by the sections here on the document, and what we've been eating goes before what we've been playing.
That's true. Yeah, we don't want to switch it up too much. Just consistently good homemade meals. My father is an amazing, immaculate chef, and we recently realized we have an entire season of MasterChef that we haven't seen. And MasterChef is my shit. So he's been hit with inspiration as of late. And so we've had some good stuff. We tonight we had like some really good pork that was like cooked beautifully. We had a couple days ago we had some cowboy spaghetti.
What is
Which
cowboy
is like,
spaghetti?
Well, yeah, explain that.
let me look it up. I'm not sure exactly all that was in it, but it was like cheddar cheese on top of it. I don't know because when you Google cowboy spaghetti, there are like a bunch of different ingredients. It was like spaghetti with like bacon, cheese, a little bit of hot sauce you put in, some like little bits of. I think you tried bits of pepperoni one time, but they weren't. That wasn't the best. And some meat in there too. It's basically just like spaghetti, but throwing a bunch of delicious shit in there. Not being, not playing it by the books too much, I guess.
Okay,
but
that sounds good though.
Yeah, the important thing is that it was delicious. So.
I'm curious, when you said that MasterChef is your shit, is it because you enjoy the show, or is it because you enjoy the food that comes from the inspiration that it gives your father?
I mean, both really.
I just want to know if you actually watch the show, or if you're just like, yes, my dad's going to watch this, and then we're going to get some great food out of this.
Oh, no. Oh, I love MasterChef. It's such a good show. Like this season, I don't know who won yet. It's been out for a bit. But it's like, I think season 9? Whatever the most recent one is. Like the judges, Gordon's the only original chef on there. I'm not going to take hours to talk about MasterChef, but the judges are all really good. This one episode that was like a team challenge, and then it went down to like a pressure test to see who would go home. Everything worked out so beautifully. It felt like it almost like could have been scripted, but of course it wasn't. Hopefully not, but it was just, it's like, I'm not really someone who gets into reality TV too much. Unless stuff like, Shark Tank or MasterChef, that's my idea of like reality TV. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. It's that episode, like where they're doing breakfast, the team challenge is like, will go down in history as MasterChef perfection. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it was great. It was a great episode, and I love MasterChef. I don't know how many other times I can reiterate this until someone says, "All right, Katie, you can start talking now."
Well, I had Hillary last night made a porterhouse steak in the sous vide. She has a sous vide machine, and it was really good. Like the sous vide works really well because we don't have a grill here. So if we want to do steaks, our options are limited to like doing it in a pan on the stove, or now she has a sous vide, and it turns out really well. Like she enjoys it, and it just takes a couple hours to do, but they turn out really nice, and they're like cooked evenly all the way through. So we had that last night. It was really good.
Okay, cool. It's delicious.
The only new food experience I had was actually during TwitchCon, and this was planned for quite a while. I had my very first experience with In-N-Out.
Oh yeah, tell us how you like it.
I think it was built up to be a bit much.
You can
but at the
say
same
it,
time,
Ying.
not quite.
In-N-Out's overrated.
It's yes, it is. But the way it was pitched to me was that it was fast food, but like half a step better, I guess. Like it was meant to be a bridge between your typical fast food and a nicer restaurant, is how it was pitched to me. And I guess I sort of saw that. But anyways.
I'd say In-N-Out is definitely square in the fast food demographic.
Yeah, and that's the vibe that I got from it. But at the same time,
it's not bad, but people have this like cultish love for it that I've never really understood.
Yeah, and that's sort of the feel that I got from it. For how much people were talking about it, I enjoyed it. But there was nothing about it that made me think, wow, I'm really glad that I went out of my way to try this.
Yeah.
But anyways, the whole point was for me to experience it because we don't have In-N-Out in Canada. So, so when I had the opportunity to do it, it was basically Scott and a bunch of people from his community saying, oh, you got to try it while you're down here. So anyways, it was an experience. I'm glad I tried it because at least now I know. Yeah. Now, I now know that it is basically fast food. But that's really the only new experience that I had.
Okay. Well, tell us about this new experience for you that is Destiny 2.
Yes. So I was talking about it before a little bit. I have never played a game like Destiny, where it's that sort of first-person, team-based shooter with like a mild social aspect to it. I have been so engrossed in that game, doing things like the raid and the trials, all these new. I'm struggling to frame exactly how I feel about the game because I've never played this kind of a game before. In the sense that there's all these clan-based team activities that have these specific rewards that reset on a weekly basis, and it adds this whole new element of, planning with other people when to do all these things. Because I never really got into like WoW or anything like that, where you get used to working with a team of people to complete raids that take multiple hours to complete. So the whole game has been a learning experience for me, and as a result, I've been completely engrossed in it. I have played Destiny 2 pretty much exclusively since I've gotten back from TwitchCon.
Oh, okay.
And it's an interesting position to put me into, because now that the game has been out for a little while, a lot of the criticisms of the game, and like any game, its shortcomings start to come to light, and people will focus on it. And this is the first game in a long time where I completely understand the criticisms, but I am forgiving them in their entirety because this is such a new experience for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of one of those. We talked about this a little bit on the cast last week. I don't know if you listened, but there are. I think it's such a well-made game. Like, it's a beautiful game. It runs really well.
Absolutely.
But it is. I found it challenging to play as much as I wanted to play it because I ran out of things to do, and doing things in the wrong order, like turning in quests when I was supposed to wait until I was a higher light level before I turned them in to get these pieces of loot. Like that felt a little bit obtuse to me.
Right.
And so I haven't played it as much because I've been on by myself and I haven't had people to play with. So I haven't done the raid and all of that, which sound really cool. Like, I want to do those things. But I discovered last night that for the Nightfall, it doesn't matchmake you. It just goes in with your fire team, and I had a fire team of me. So I joined. I was thinking like, oh, I'll just sit in queue and like wait for someone. Nope, it loads me in, and I'm like, oh, where are my teammates? About 30 seconds in, I realize, oh, there are no teammates. It's just me, and so I quit out and didn't do it.
I think there is a feature. I think that's what guided games are supposed to be. There's another tab on that same menu called guided games, and I think it matches you with two members of another clan. And it's a beta client, so I don't know how well it works. I haven't read anything about it, but I believe they're trying to introduce some kind of matchmaking to that. But I mean, anytime I think of matchmaking with people that I don't know, that first of all, if it requires voice chat and like things like that, it has all these conditions in order for you to do that kind of matchmaking. You have to enable voice chat and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I get flashbacks to when I used to solo queue CSGO, which is a time in my life that I don't really want to go back to. So anytime I see like these things where it's like matchmaking and voice chat required, I'm like, I'm gonna pass on that. But I did the same thing. I went to queue for the Nightfall and popped into the map all by my little lonesome self. And thought, well, I'll give this a shot, I guess, and got absolutely nowhere.
So have you ran out of things to do, or have you been logging in, and you still feel like you have things to do before the weekly reset?
What I've been doing is I've actually started to play a lot more. I'm coordinating when I'm getting on based on when other people in KBMOD are getting on, because that opens up the activities for us, like Trials of the Nine, which is, it's the same thing. You have to have a fire team with you to queue for that sort of PvP, and then doing the Nightfall and the raid. I don't think I've necessarily run out of things to do, especially because there's other people are like starting second characters, and then of course you can make a third character after that. So I'm not really running out of things to do, but I can understand. Like there was a brief moment where I wasn't doing anything because if no one else is on, then you're kind of limited in what you can spend your time doing. Yeah. So I understand that. I certainly understand that portion of it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Destiny as well, but kind of just been playing it a little more in moderation with the weekly resets, and I'm not, I'm not capped out on my light score or anything yet, but I'm closing in on that. And I'm sure by the time I get there, I think the new content will probably be coming right around the corner, and I'll be behind the curve again. So,
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, I've already gotten my $60 worth out of it, so I can't
Yeah,
complain too much.
absolutely.
Well, cool. What else have you been playing? Anything? You said exclusively Destiny.
Yeah, and I do mean that literally. I don't think I've actually opened up another game since I've gotten back from TwitchCon. I got back from TwitchCon, I think the night before the game released. And so I think maybe the last game I played before that was a match of Counter-Strike. That's about it.
Huh, okay.
Cool. Well, I'll go real quick because I've been playing mostly Destiny 2. I haven't played a whole lot this week, but just pretty much Destiny. Logged in and did my weekly quests. Did some PvP. I said this a little bit last week, but like I think the PvP after playing this week, I think the PvP is kind of garbage. It's
yeah.
like I don't think it's very good, and I just don't know what else to say. Like the fact that I had to do some PvP for my weekly quest, it was just like I just wanted it to be over with. I don't think the PvP is very well balanced. I don't think it's that much fun. But that's neither here nor there.
I've heard that sentiment from a couple of people who have spent a lot of time in the Crucible trying to do PvP. And a lot of complaints do stem from, I think what it is that they've sort of branched away from the first Destiny and they tried to make the PvP a little more competitive, which I don't think has been received very well, because apparently in the first Destiny, the PvP was a lot more chaotic. People were like popping their supers every couple of minutes instead of you doing it like once per match. Now the game felt a lot faster as a result. And now it does feel like you're sort of running it, I don't know. The game feels, or the PvP feels, I don't know, sluggish to me.
Yeah.
You know,
it seems to revolve. It revolves around the energy weapons and supers and grenades. Like very rarely does it come down to like your skill with a gun, which I find frustrating. You know, because you'll basically die, and you'll think, what could I have done better? And it's like, nothing I could have done better. Like there were either there were two people, or there was some super, or like this guy just came at me with a sword. You know, like there are so many situations where you're just like, yep, couldn't have done anything. And then you look up at the scoreboard, and the other team is ahead by like 30 kills or something, you know, and like I wish there was a mercy option. When I look up and I'm like, there's 3 minutes left and we're down by 30 kills or something. Like the game needs to be smart. It needs to be smarter about how it does matchmaking, or it needs to be smarter about like, hey, you gave it a shot, we're gonna kill this one, you know, and let you queue up again. Because like you get less points, or you get less like percentage toward your quest when you lose. And so like playing a game and losing like 3 or 4 times, it is mind numbing to have to sit there and continue playing these games. And like, you know, I'm getting matched up with random people. I've just been playing mostly by myself. Oh man, it's like, it is brutal sitting through some of those games that are, you know, maybe 10 minutes long, and you know 3-4 minutes in that there's no chance you can win.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And as you said, a lot of it comes down to it's when you end up getting killed in the PvP, you look back on it and you think, well, was there something I could have done to avoid that? And the answer is just not really, because you can't really stop the guy from flying at you midair with fists made of electricity that just one-shots you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
There was no way to avoid that situation. So yeah, I completely understand that. And I think the only thing that has changed my opinion somewhat was playing Trials of the Nine, because everyone is in such a competitive mindset. You sort of just have to give way to the fact that you know you're probably not going to win the game by taking gun battles. So it almost feels like you're cheesing the game, right? Like you're avoiding the enemy until you know that you have some kind of a situation that you can basically cheese them to death.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like the optimal strategy, if you're really looking to win, feels to me like very much just picking your battles, and like if it looks like you might die, ducking around cover, like basically just trying to survive more than trying to kill. And
that's exactly it.
Yeah, and I, you know, maybe some people like that. I think that doesn't really fit with what I want out of a first-person shooter multiplayer experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how we actually did really well in the Trials of the Nine, which is, I was explaining it before, but anyone who's familiar with Destiny will know it better than I do. But essentially, it's a PvP playlist where you're just trying to basically get 7 wins in a row, or you're trying to get the best record possible out of these 11 games that you can play. And the more wins that you get, the more wins that you have on that score ticket, so to speak, the better rewards you'll get from this one area called the Spire. And the entire time that we were playing that, we ended up going 7-1, which means we got like the second highest tier of rewards. But the entire time, all you're doing is you're really just, as you said, trying to survive until you can pick up power ammo, or until someone has their super, and you can just sort of kind of steal three kills from the enemy or something like that, and then just run away and regroup and play defensive again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and all like people who like the PvP community, obviously from Destiny 1, they love that style. I guess it really clicks with them.
Yeah, I could see how it works for some people. It's just like it is. I guess you have to really be looking for that kind of experience where it's, you know, it's not so much about your aim, it's mostly just about your tactics. And I think that kind of play style can only really be enjoyed when you're with a group of friends who, you know, are actually going to play together. Like you're never gonna get that matchmaking solo queue. So that's kind of why I've had a worse experience with it.
Yeah. And as I was saying, Trials was the only thing that really altered my opinion somewhat, because in that situation, I was playing with like a full team of people from KBMOD. So we're obviously all coordinating, communicating with each other, and, you know, doing what we can on the fly to try to win the game. So, and that was a different experience. So I think if you give that a shot, maybe it'll change you around on it. But I still think I agree with you overall that the PvP is not necessarily for me.
Well, anyway, yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing. KD, what have you been playing this week?
Hey, I'll go quick. Nothing. I haven't started anything new. Just mainly trying to finish everything I've kind of started recently. I finished Wolfenstein: The New Order, and yeah, that final boss was I had to cheese it. I think I must have been so I'm streaming and I'm on the that I because I was playing through the entire game on the hardest difficulty on Uber, and up until then there've only been like a couple rooms that really just made me want to commit, but that final boss was something else, dude. Like literally unloading every single thing you have with that boss, and then just like you have to throw rocks at him after you exhaust every single bullet available. You have to like spit on him, like you have to utilize like anything available to you and do it well. And I'm talking like it must have been like about 20 attempts of just strict focus and trying to win until I was like, all right, maybe there's a strategy for this. So what do? I go on YouTube, I type in Wolfenstein Final Boss Strategy, and I see this video of this dude who he just goes into the corner, crouches under some stairs, and the boss can't quite hit him. And I will confess, I was through with the BS. I was through with the heartache, and I took him up on his offer, and I adopted that strategy, and I have no regrets. Absolutely no regrets.
Well, it's hard to blame you playing on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really. It started off not too crazy, but towards those later levels got insane. Like, but it felt great finally. Like when you finish a room in Wolfenstein, you gotta like pause the game and like reflect and actually take in that victory. Like, you know, Dark Souls, you beat a boss, you have to think about, okay, I did this. Let me savor this victory. Because if you just go room after room in Wolfenstein, you're not going to feel any gratification. So like, doing that, and then, but yeah, that was like definitely. I mean, I've been one after another. You know, Titanfall 2 going into this, like playing some really good single player FPS games. This is definitely one of the best, and I'm psyched to play the sequel whenever that goes on sale.
Yeah, I've heard great things about Wolfenstein 2.
Yeah,
and I'm, you know, I don't have a ton of time to play, and what I am playing, I'm enjoying. So like, you know, I'm playing some Destiny, still playing some PUBG here and there. So like, I'm just basically hoping that I can not get spoiled for Wolfenstein 2. Because it sounds like there are some crazy things, and people have been alluding to them. It's like, I want to play it just because I don't want it to get spoiled. But but yeah, I mean, I think it will probably go on sale even maybe like by Christmas. And so,
Yeah, I think
like
so.
I'll feel dumb if I buy it and I actually don't even have a chance to really play it until Christmas.
Right.
But yeah, like I
Yeah.
really want to play that. I've heard such good things, and I enjoyed
Yeah.
the Old Blood and the New Order. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the old blood. I have to get that too.
yeah,
But yeah,
so
I've done pretty well by the spoilers. Like, there's the occasional article that comes up, like, you won't believe the beginning of Wolfenstein
oh
2.
yeah,
Get
I've
off, get
basically
off.
ignored all of that.
Oh, there was somebody in my chat who felt personally slighted enough by me choosing the boss that he just started posting spoilers about the second game.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that was fun.
Well,
It wasn't anything major, thankfully, but yeah, I'm not. You
well,
tainted.
I'm definitely I've got that one queued up for sure. I may end up if I
For
have
sure.
some time, if I have a weekend or something where I don't have other things to play, I may just go ahead and grab it and play through it because those games are so good.
Oh yeah, like totally worth the money for like single, even though it's only single player. The
Yeah.
amount of polish just in the style and the direction is just insane.
Yeah,
And I was really
you can go look back at some old podcasts where we talk about how we can't believe that Wolfenstein was deciding to go with a single player only. But
yeah, yeah, oh, yeah,
they have definitely proven me wrong over and over. Like
exactly.
Machine
Yeah.
Games has turned Wolfenstein into one of the better narrative games
Oh
in the
yeah,
past 5 years,
one of
and
the
like I
best.
never would have
Like,
expected that.
I know Wolfenstein has had a lot of like revivals. I mean, more than a couple, but this is definitely one of the most successful like series revivals. I think,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
But
I would say like the id properties are some of the most unlikely
mhm.
successes of the past few years. Like both Doom and
Yeah,
Wolfenstein being these like engrossing single player experiences. I would not have
yeah,
guessed that would have turned out the way it did. But I mean, I'm glad it has. Those games are really good,
agreed.
and it sounds like Wolfenstein 2, continues the tradition of
Mhm.
those first two. So can't wait to play
Yeah,
that.
agreed. Yeah, and just thinking about that, Bethesda actually has a lot of really solid IPs under their belt. I don't know if I talked about this idea before, but if Bethesda makes a Bethesda kart racing game, that is just 100%. Do not tell me you would not buy that title. Like, you've got, Doom Marine and the Lone Survivor racing in Castle Wolfenstein. Like, come on, man.
They do have at this point they have a pretty rich stable of characters across their franchises.
Oh yeah, I would love that, dude. But yeah, other than that, I'm not gonna go too deep into any other games because everything else I haven't finished. I've been playing more Tales of Berseria, and I swear to God, I'm like an hour from finishing that game. But it's just an incredible game. And yeah, Evil Within 2, more of that. I'm not ready to, I want to get all my thoughts together for that game because I definitely love and hate a lot of things about that game. And also some more Pokemon Sun because Ultra Sun is coming out in less than 2 weeks, and I want to get that up. Pick that up as soon as it comes out. Pick that up. God, words.
Nice.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's a pretty
pretty much it
varied
this week.
gaming diet you're on.
Yeah, just a lot of mixture here and there, just picking up stuff. So yeah,
All right.
no real focus on anything. Like
Cool.
my life, just random shit.
So- what a nice segue into the random
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
we encountered at BlizzCon. Lots of BlizzCon has pretty much dominated the gaming news cycle this week, with a lot of announcements for Blizzard titles. As is typical with each BlizzCon. So let's see. I'll run through real quick, just like an overview of some of the news that came out of BlizzCon, and then there's I think probably a few things we want to hit and go deeper on. So one of the first things they announced was StarCraft 2 is going to go free to play, which I don't think is super surprising, but cool that the StarCraft series becomes a little more accessible. They put out StarCraft Remastered and it was pretty cheap. Now StarCraft 2 being free to play, seems like a good way to keep that player base involved, and keep the player numbers there so that they can keep kind of a multiplayer, good competitive multiplayer environment. Some of the biggest news, I think, we Didn't see anything out of Diablo, so like I think
No.
we were worried. You know, some people were worried that like, what are we going to see this year that's going to blow us away? And I think WoW sort of took that cake. They talked about vanilla WoW. They basically acknowledged the whole stuff we've talked about in the past with Nostalrius and the third-party servers and all of that. They basically sort of caved to community pressure, and they're going to be releasing World of Warcraft Classic, which is basically going to be a servers that replicate vanilla WoW. And we don't know a ton of details at this point. They didn't talk about release dates or like real like tons and tons of detail, but they basically committed to doing it. There was a little trailer for it that was kind of cool.
Right.
So that's coming. You know, a lot of old school WoW fans were happy about that. Our own John, that's all he's been tweeting about, even while he's on vacation. So, it definitely struck a chord with I think a lot of the old WoW players, and we'll see. Like I'm definitely most interested in that one as an announcement, because I obviously played a lot of old school WoW, and I was thinking about all of the quality of life things from back in the old WoW days that I don't think I could even do now. Like being in a city and having to queue up, or not even queue up because there was no queue system, like finding a group on your server of people who were your same level, who want to do the same instance as you, and then you had to fly to the instance entrance and actually zone in, and all your group members did too. Like back in vanilla, there was no like, let's just sit in the city and queue up for a dungeon. So you ended up wasting a lot of time, and there was like a lot of farming. There were a lot of things that I don't think late 20s me would want to do. So, I don't know if maybe people, once they look back and realize what they're getting with vanilla WoW, like how many people will actually want to do that day in and day out. But we'll see. Let's see. Overview. I got to keep going on this overview, and then we can talk about things. WoW announced a new expansion, Battle of Azeroth, and they typically decouple their announcements from their cinematic trailers, but they did both this time. So they announced the expansion and then also dropped their cinematic trailer. And if you're not familiar, like WoW's cinematic trailers are just honestly some of the absolute best things in video games. The cinematic trailer is amazing, as all of their cinematic trailers have been. So kind of going back to like a Alliance versus Horde sort of thing. They announced some cool changes, like they're getting rid of PvP servers. They're just gonna like have a flagging system where people can opt into PvP. So making some big changes. We'll kind of see. We'll see as they flesh more of those out, and it gets closer. They announced a new Hearthstone expansion. That's sort of whatever. That I think that was expected. New Overwatch hero got announced. A new map called Blizzard World. It's like a Blizzard themed theme park in Overwatch as a map, which is pretty meta.
Yeah, that looks cool.
They had a Reinhardt animated short, which I haven't gotten a chance to watch. I was AFK when they did that, but I've heard that's a very good short. So
it is very good.
I need to take a chance or take a minute and watch that. And there were some other smaller things, but those were like the big highlights. What do you guys think? Are you excited about some of this news? Does any of this stuff interest you as far as Blizzard games go?
Well, I'm always hyped for a new Overwatch character, any kind of expansion of that. I haven't really looked into too much of what Moira is all about, but I'm psyched for that. And the idea of vanilla WoW servers is really cool. Although I've never played WoW, but just seeing the Twitter timeline is after that was announced is just such a wonderful thing. It was beautiful. Like I think our own John was driven to tears in the middle of his wonderful vacation he's going on now. It was awesome. But so it made me consider about getting started into WoW. I know they're like free trial things you can do, but it makes me wonder if 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 it's either too little, too late to get it started in a WoW, or if vanilla WoW is going to be just kind of like a for veterans only sort of thing. But so
Yeah.
it's got me thinking about that.
I
But,
think it's hard to answer that question in a way that, based on the detail we have now, that I can think I would really know what to tell you, whether you should go for vanilla or go for the new expansion. I will be curious to see, as we get closer to the vanilla WoW servers actually launching, what they will incorporate from current WoW, and what they will keep the same. So there were like there were just a lot of like bugs and exploits and other things that would almost certainly detract from the experience today, that I would think they would want to clean up a little bit, right? And so I don't know how faithful they will be to like actually literally the version that was out in 2004, 2005, or if they will use that code but then clean some things up and have that be sort of a more 2017 version of the game. Because like some of the things I was mentioning, like running to instances and like mentioned in chat, feeding pets and having to buy ammo, like just like annoying stuff. I'm curious how much of that they will keep and how much of that, like if they actually go for what the game was like in 2004, I don't think that the player base will really be there long term, because like that game was arduous.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line to balance. It's for remastering every game really is making changes that are good and that will suit it well for the modern the modern gamer. I can't believe I just said that, but
yeah, the modern gamer.
The modern gamer.
You're trying to restructure the game so that it emphasizes the elements of the game that people enjoyed and remembered from their original experience. And so like having to identify those specific elements is a very difficult task, because most people are going to are going to remember or have enjoyed different aspects of the game. So any kind of misstep is going to change people's experiences, because essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to appeal to those people's memories more than anything.
Yeah, and it sounds like from kind of the panels and interviews that came out asking about some of the vanilla stuff, it does sound like on the surface they're going to kind of lean into what the game was like back then, and some people are gonna love that, some people aren't, and I think one aspect they hit on that I think is kind of a cool aspect, but they basically talk about how this is important. The WoW Classic is important for game preservation, which I think we've talked about on this podcast, but is an interesting point that like WoW is an ever evolving thing, and you can't go back and relive what the game was like in 2004 or 2005 unless they do something like this, where they basically keep a version of that alive and allow the newer generation. And when I say that, I mean people like KD, people who were like really young when WoW first came out. If you wanted to try WoW like it was back then, you really don't have much option right now, except for maybe a third-party server or something like that.
Yeah.
But
if Blizzard isn't already taking it down.
Right. But I do think it will be challenging for them to find the right balance, because like if you were jumping into vanilla WoW and you had maybe played one or two MMOs today, like MMOs out now, like you mentioned before the cast, you were thinking about trying out Final Fantasy 14. And if that was like, if you tried out Final Fantasy 14 and that was your only real knowledge of MMOs, and then you went to vanilla WoW, you would be just completely out of your element, because there are so many systems and just things that MMOs take for granted that have largely been pioneered by WoW, but were not there in Classic. It's just, I think it will be interesting for them to find that balance. And if they use this as something that they want new players to experience, or if this really is just for like the veteran who wants to go back to the WoW they played over a decade ago.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see. Time can tell, or time will tell. I could see it going either way, really. I mean, Blizzard has shown they can do remasters with StarCraft Remastered. That was a fucking success.
Yeah,
And
and they don't seem super concerned about like making a ton of money with WoW Classic. But
mhm.
I'm curious how they'll monetize it. Like, do you have it just built into the normal WoW subscription fee, or do you have it as like an optional separate fee where I can just subscribe to WoW Classic? It'll be interesting to me to see how they decide to monetize it, and if they just roll it into you have to sub to WoW and you get access to both, or if they want to pull in someone who maybe doesn't want to pay $15 a month but will pay like $5 a month just for Classic. Like, I think that could be interesting. But I don't know how they're going to crunch those numbers and make this pay for itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the other, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there were obviously more things that happened at BlizzCon. There's esports things, but these were like the major announcements that came out. And as with everything, a lot of the details come out later on. But pretty decent slate of news for Blizzard for a year where Diablo. There was literally the Diablo team said there wasn't going to be nothing. I think the other games had to sort of pick up that slack, and I think WoW kind of carried the day. And so it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how WoW manages sort of the excitement around their new expansion, and then also the excitement around WoW Classic. But again, like the expectations around WoW Classic will be interesting to follow because people have already had this option in third-party servers. So I think the WoW team has a lot to live up to, getting that right and making that feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Cool.
yeah, I mean, it's Blizzard. They're one of the best developer studios in the world. So I mean, I have faith they can do it and do well.
Yeah, I mean that WoW team is not small, and I have to guess that the WoW Classic stuff has probably been a passion for some people on that team. Like I have to guess that some people on the team probably really wanted that to happen even sooner than it did. So I doubt they'll be hurting for people to work on that project. But it does sound like a challenge. I mean, they paint a picture of the technical challenge of of basically bringing classic WoW into function in 2017. Like I can only imagine trying to unravel, I'm sure like the spaghetti code base that almost certainly is WoW in 2017, and trying to figure out how you get, with today's technology, how you get WoW from 2004 running on it.
Translating that over, yeah, that's got to be tough.
Like I can't imagine the technical challenge that probably is. But they're a talented group of engineers over there, so I'm sure they will figure it out.
Definitely. Yeah, worst case scenario, Blizzard might have to suffer some layoffs, which is unfortunately what went down this past week with Modiga and Rune Games.
What a nice segue. That was pretty clean. Yeah, the other big news this week that hits a little bit close to home because we've had we've enjoyed some of these games, and we've like talked with some of the people from Runic Games before. But yeah, Motiga. There's two different stories, but they're on the same topic. Motiga, which is the developer of Gigantic, had a bunch of layoffs this week, and they basically reduced the staff down to I think almost nothing. So that was unfortunate to hear about.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Runic Games shut down this week. They basically just they just put out a new game. They put out Hob pretty recently, which I know some people from KBMOD have played. I think people liked that game, and they just put out a tweet that said, "Hey, like effective today, we're shutting down." And so I think that sort of tells me that they probably ran out of money. I don't think you shut down immediately with a tweet and a statement on your website unless you can't make payroll and you have no other option.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It's definitely got to be a monetary issue because like no one has been talking about Hob really. I mean,
yeah,
hardly anyone. And it came out just recently, and their last huge release was Torchlight 2. That came out in 2012.
yeah.
So, I mean, you've got to consider like how much time and money was put into Hob for it to kind of fly under the radar for a little bit. I mean, from what I've played, it's a good game. It's nothing incredible, but it's
It definitely, I don't think, has set the world on fire like Torchlight did years ago.
yeah, definitely. I mean, considering for the time for 2012, it was definitely blowing up. You
Yeah,
know, social media then wasn't what it is today. I don't think, as far as like the economy of like Steam and sharing and everything like that. But the modding scene for Torchlight 2 is huge.
yeah.
That's
I
like
think
really the only other
Torchlight
thing
and
now.
Torchlight 2 both. I don't know how. I assume Torchlight did well commercially, and I imagine Torchlight 2 probably
Yeah.
did well too. But I don't know about Hob. It's I actually didn't realize Runic Games started out with 17 people, and that's a
Yeah.
when you think about a studio size, like that's not a small team. And so to have 17, 17 plus people that that you've got to pay each month, and only really having like 3 games out to show for it after several years, like I guess it's unfortunate, but when I sit there and think about how many copies of a game you'd have to sell to sustain those salaries each month,
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah.
that does sound like it's probably a real challenge. And there's actually one of the more interesting things that came out of this story was one of the co-founders of Runic Games, Travis Baldry, posted some stuff on Twitter after the fact that was basically just like trivia about Runic Games,
Yeah.
and there were some interesting, like a few interesting things in there. Basically like talking to VCs. He talks about talking to VCs about funding your company feels like eating pudding with chopsticks. So you have to imagine like that sounds like obviously a real challenge. He says starting up with 16 people is pretty hard, which that sounds hard to me. Starting a brand new company with 16 voices in the room
Right. Yeah.
sounds pretty tough.
Yeah.
I do
They
like this tweet
apparently
saying, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say they apparently were like close to getting acquired by PopCap, and then that just like fell through,
Yeah, yeah.
or like they mentioned EA was gonna publish Torchlight, and they apparently said the tweet says EA said the ink would be dry on the contract next week to publish Torchlight, and next week is in quotes, and obviously like EA didn't publish Torchlight, so it's just you get like a very brief look into like the behind the scenes of trying to keep a small company like that running, and it's just I found it fascinating to get kind of the business, sort of some of the business views of talking to VCs, talking to publishers, possibly getting acquired, like all of the things behind the scenes that you never really hear about, and it doesn't take many things not going your way to then have to shut down, and that's a real shame because I think their games were really cool,
Yeah.
but you have a studio full of people that you've got to pay, and at some point you got to sell a lot of copies of games on Steam to pay that many people.
Exactly. Yeah. There are a lot of other. I mean, they're mostly just comical, but some good tweets in here. Like the first Torchlight prototype involved a test model that looked remarkably like Jesus dual wielding swords. It's really good. Torchlight 1 was made in 11 months, which I think is
Yeah, that's impressive.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also one for the best hate letter we ever got included the phrase "ruin dick games."
That's pretty great.
That's so good. Yeah.
But yeah, so
But
not a great week for for a couple of developers out there. The video game industry, is often not a great place for job security. So it sucks to see that. But
Definitely.
I'm sure it's
They,
this is sort of the ebb and flow of things. It's just I think this announcement just surprised me a little bit just with its urgency. Like they just tweeted
right.
like all of a sudden one day, and maybe this had been planned for months internally, who knows?
Right.
But to just basically put on Twitter that like your company shut down today was kind of jarring.
Yeah, they did go out and say that anyone who's curious Torchlight series to stay tuned for an announcement soon. So
Yeah.
I mean, hope's not
That's
dead.
interesting.
Yeah, so I'm wondering what they're gonna do with that.
Yeah, it is
Maybe shift it
interesting
over.
that when if you're shutting down a company, the stuff they've made still has value. So I wonder
Yeah,
what that looks like. If they're selling off the IP or what is maybe there's a silver lining here, because they did have things worth value to some other company, presumably.
right.
Um,
But yeah, we'll see.
yeah.
Maybe they'll
So-
pass it over to Blizzard, and we'll get a Torchlight X Diablo
Oh.
versus Capcom. I don't know.
Well, the
Oh, there's a
I
segue.
had a good segue here. Well, not a good segue, but I was thinking, the upside of losing, getting laid off is that you have a little more time to yourself, and you can really focus on your hobbies and your personal loves and interests.
Okay. All right.
And what better time to do that than when you're like the most well-known terrorist in the history of the world? You wouldn't, this this
That makes
segue goes
remarkably little sense.
this segue goes all sorts of places, but you can't make up this headline. The CIA released an archive of a bunch of like digital files from Osama bin Laden's PC or PCs. And the headline here is the CIA archive reveals that Osama bin Laden liked retro games and anime. So,
Wow.
KD, I don't want to
Bounce it over to me, of course.
I don't want to, I don't want to say that anime was a mistake, but if there's ever been any stronger evidence, I don't know what it is.
I mean, here's the thing. We really got to take into consideration when the anime appeared on his hard drives. It's entirely possible that he could have started watching anime before he was a radical terrorist, and then that influence on his life drove him to where he ended up. So, anime talk about ruining our country, our great American state.
Yeah.
But our great American, it's not a state, it's what I say.
I mean, yeah,
But,
anime has done real tangible damage to to the United States of America, and we now have the
That's
proof.
true. It's true. Oh man, but yeah, there's some really interesting stuff in here. Go ahead.
There's like, I mean, yeah, this is a pretty dumb story, but it's so weird to see like these files get released, and it's just a whole bunch of really mundane garbage, like pirated movies and anime and retro games. Like that's the weirdest thing to me is that, like these are like kind of niche interests. Some of these retro games he had files for on his hard drive, which is like really weird. But yeah, looks like Osama bin Laden likes anime. What are you gonna do?
It's just looking through. There's a bullet point list of files, and there are things like biography, Osama bin Laden. CNN presents World's Most Wanted. Some feasible things, and then right next you see Chicken Little. You see Final Fantasy VII, Home on the Range, Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs. So not only was he really into DreamWorks and kids movies, but into Final Fantasy as well.
Hey man, when you're plotting terror attacks, you got to cool off with some ants or cars.
Yes, yeah.
The first
way
one,
to take
the
the edge
first
off.
one.
Oh yeah, the first Cars. No Cars 2.
Yeah.
None of the Mater spin-offs or whatever.
But yeah, that's
at least he had some decent taste. Final Fantasy VII. That was a great game.
Note, what a surreal feeling it must be to watch a documentary about yourself titled "Where in the World is Osama bin Laden?"
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he looks like a little bit of a narcissist.
Yeah.
He's just watching it, cackling to himself as they just can't pinpoint.
Yeah, they
his
come up with all
location.
these conspiracy theories. He is just killing himself laughing.
What if the documentary is like, we've pinpointed his location to this compound, and it's literally like right outside of the building he's in, and he just starts like flipping out.
Oh yeah, he just
We gotta move. Pack your bags.
Sweat.
Yeah. Pack up the helicopters.
Oh.
Pack them up.
Or
it's
pack your things into the helicopter. So that they don't, you can't break down a helicopter. Fold the propeller. Okay, I'm done.
I think this goes to show you that if you're ever gonna do something really noteworthy, positive or negative, right? Osama bin Laden, obviously, like famous for bad reasons, but like if you're noteworthy at all, you got to be worried about what's on your hard drive. All right, like just think about, they released like something like 400,000+ files. Like I guess just literally the entire contents of his hard drive, which are like evidence because of who he was. That's a scary, scary thought to think about, every single thing on your hard drive being archived and available on the internet just because of who you are. So just food for thought. Food for thought that maybe consider what you keep around forever, in case you ever die and the police look at your hard drive.
Right. It's there's really only one thing to thank for this. It's you got to think that thankfully some sort of airstrike didn't hit the compound and destroy all the files.
I know. Exactly.
Speaking of useless airstrikes, PUBG is leaving early access.
What?
Wow, you really.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but that was a segue.
You just tossed that one up and knocked it out yourself. But
well, come on.
Hey, look, you got to do what you got to do to get a good segue in. You know what? You're not wrong. This is in fact, this is news. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, shocker of all shockers, gets a launch window for PC, and can you believe that it is before the end of the year? I am shocked. I am shocked because I can't believe they would rush to try and get in toward the end of the year. It's almost like if they do that, they know that they will secure multiple Game of the Year awards that they would not otherwise get if they still had that early access tag on. But they also got an Xbox One release date, which we are a KBMOD podcast, but I know people are probably looking forward to this game on Xbox, and so it is coming out on Xbox on December 12th, and I don't think they actually said the actual date that they're leaving early access on Steam, but I think it's basically late December or something, like pretty much just in time for for it to be considered a real game for 2017.
Right, exactly. I feel like at that point it might be too little, too late, because like around that time you got the award shows going on.
That's true.
And if you're just releasing in December, then you're not really out in time to be. There's that very small space of time in between, early 2017 and late 2018 and late 2017, in which your games are being released too late.
That's true. I have to guess, if I'm in your marketing department for PUBG, I'm every day I'm like, guys, can we possibly get this out like really late November, right? Like, if we can get this out late November, people can actually play it. And then they can go to their editors and say PUBG qualifies for Game of the Year this year, because they're going to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone should be surprised that they're trying to get out before the end of the year.
Because I can't help but worry.
I think ultimately, like this is in a lot of ways the year of PUBG. Like I think they can't expect that people are going to pay the same amount of attention to PUBG in 2018 than they did in 2017. So I think it makes sense for them to try and get the early access tag off in the year that that they have all of this fanfare in the first place.
Right. Yeah. I can't help but be worried, because thinking about now into that moment, it's just about a little over 1 month, and you've got an entire desert map to put in. Hopefully, I get the impression that they're trying to put in that vaulting mechanic by the time the game releases. Like, that doesn't seem like something you put in after a game releases.
I don't think that's going to be in there. I think they've already.
Yeah,
I don't know if they clarified that, but I think the vaulting stuff they said is going to be on the test servers for a while. Like, that's a pretty big change. So, you know, I think they're going to have to. I wouldn't expect that it will include much more content, if any, than the game has right now. Because, like, I think to get out of early access, they still have some structural issues to take care of to make the game optimization. Just like, you know, there's probably still some crashes out there. Like, I think they have to do a little bit of work to get the game in a state, especially playable on Xbox. Like, I think I worry about the state of that game and releasing it to Xbox, like with how it is now on PC.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of rough edges there, and so I think, you know, I think they're probably just trying to get those rough edges as smooth as they can to drop that early access tag, you know, and then they're going to still have some big changes afterward. But really, I think it's just about giving people confidence that the game is worth buying and like a complete enough product that it's worth $30. I think it's mostly just to set expectations for customers. And you know, you want to get those Game of the Year awards, so like you might as well cut scope to get whatever you can to get out of early access in 2017. Like, I think that's basically what this is about. You have to get out of early access so that you can get Game of the Year. Like, why wouldn't you, right?
That is a great thing to adorn on your box.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Especially if it's going to be on Xbox. Like, you want to be able to put out the Xbox physical version that has, like, you know, whatever game award for this publication on, you know, basically on your box, like on the back of the box. You want to be able to just put Game of the Year across like the whole back of the box.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's literally just 4 giant, like probably 144 font letters. Game of the Year. And then it's got ESRB ratings in the bottom corner. That's really all you need. It's all the game looks for.
You actually put out a Game of the Year edition, like, as your first physical edition of the game. You just go straight to Game of the Year edition because you're already Game of the Year.
That's right. And then right. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that performs. Now, is this confirmed only to be Xbox One only, or is this going to be like a timed exclusive?
I think. I mean, I think pretty much all exclusives, I think, are basically timed exclusives, right? It just depends on how long.
Well, Xbox One is definitely like, or Microsoft, I should say. What am I saying? I sound like the average gamer. I feel like their exclusives are definitely more fickle compared to something like Sony.
Yeah.
Because like they hold on to their exclusives with, like, you know, an iron grip.
Yeah, that's true.
Otherwise,
I think I saw. I want to say I saw an article that was talking about Xbox trying to extend the exclusivity period with PUBG. So I think it is a timed exclusive, but it may be a pretty long one. Like, if it's like a year or two, that's a really long time, you know, for a game like this to be exclusive to one console platform. So
right, okay.
And actually, the update on this article says it does. PlayerUnknown himself confirmed that the 1.0 version will include the desert map. So I guess they are trying to, you know, push in some additional content to that 1.0 version. But yeah, so that's, I mean, PUBG continues to make the news. But I think this week is, you know, it's pretty worthy. The Xbox announcement and all that. And you know, leaving early access isn't a huge deal to me. Like, I think to people who are in games, early access is like whatever, you know, some early access is good, some is bad. But I think if you're not in the gaming circles, you're probably a lot more wary of something that says early access, as you should be. But I think for them to really go like mainstream, you got to get rid of that tag and you know, be out for sale for $30 without an asterisk next to it.
Right, exactly. It's important. Speaking of money, you ever wanted to get money by doing well in video games? Well, now you can if you own a PlayStation system. So part of Sony's new PlayStation Rewards program is something where for every trophy that you get, not including bronze trophies, just silver, gold, and platinum trophies, if you're unfamiliar, are what you get when you get every single other trophy in the game. They amount to points that can be redeemed for currency on the PlayStation Store. Now, don't freak out. You're not going to be able to make a living off of this. It's basically how it equates is to it's 100 silver points, or 100 silver trophies for 100 points, or 1 point per trophy. Let me see. It's 1 point per silver trophy, 10 points for a gold trophy, and 100 points per platinum trophy. And to give you an idea, 1,000 points can get you a $10 PSN voucher. So you'll need 10 platinum trophies, which, I mean, unless you're specifically going out and targeting, easy platinum trophies, that's no small feat.
I mean, say, how, like, what better. Can you give us a sense? Can you give us a sense of how hard silver, gold, and platinum trophies are to get in most games?
So for example, let's go Infamous. Infamous, that open world action game. Are you familiar with that at all? Have you seen that before? So bronze trophy would be like beating a level that's significant to the story, or bronze trophy would be upgrade your first power up, something like that.
So bronze are like you'll get them through the course of playing the game.
Well, not exclusively bronze, because certain things, like maybe it can range from a specific big story mission to an accomplishment will be a silver trophy. Usually beating the game is silver or gold. Beating the game on like a harder difficulty is usually gold. And then silvers are a lot of stuff like get this many kills. For example, like Dead Space. I know there are like however many kills for whichever gun, there are like silver trophies like associated with all of those. That game in particular, and I imagine many other games, involve multiple playthroughs of the game to go for the platinum. So it's quite a lot of your time for what would equate to $1 for store credit. But I mean, anything is better than nothing. It's interesting because I have friends who have just a stupid amount of trophies, who like I can only dream of getting on their whatever they're, because like PlayStation accounts had like a little experience bar and levels. He's like fucking level 23. I don't know if you're familiar with the economy, that's batshit and crazy. That's crazy. But I just thought this was interesting. Just a little kind of reward for these people. They kind of went over one of their. This was an article from Kotaku, and they talked about Rough Da 4, who is at the top of the trophy leaderboard with 15,000 silver, nearly 7,000 gold, and 1,300 platinum trophies. And if he theoretically redeemed all of those, he would get about $1,583.
Yeah. So I mean, your average person, it's not like this is going to fund your gaming habit.
Yeah, exactly. Beat a game and be able to rent another one or buy another one.
That is cool though. I mean, I think like even if it's not worth very much, it does make people care about it in a way that they wouldn't otherwise. So it's cool if you're already playing a lot of games and you already enjoyed getting trophies. I could see hardcore players easily making $50 to $100 in PSN credit. And like that gets you a new game or something.
Yeah, I'll have to sign up and see. I'll get, I think I have enough trophies to go for like a $10 credit.
Now, is it retroactive?
I believe so. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if the program you sign up for the rewards is free or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be. It's probably just like you link your. Let's see. In order for the trophies to count towards the reward, you must be signed up for Sony Rewards and have your account linked prior to
earning them. Ooh.
Wow, that
Rough Da 4 just getting completely boned by this new program.
Oh man, that is heartbreaking. Well,
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, but man,
it does.
This would look a lot more appealing if it was all of the trophies you already had.
It was. Yeah, that sounded a lot better before. Damn. Right. Speaking of putting. Anyways, we're gonna do new releases. I can't think of anything. Oh man. All right.
Oh, you
So-
had one. The first new
Oh,
release,
did I?
Neo Complete Edition. For all you completionists out there, this first new
Oh
release.
my god! Incredible. Oh, that was good. Ugh. I should just leave them to you. Anytime we finish a news article from now on, I'll just be like, Brandon, segue?
You just gotta open your mind. You gotta get more creative here. Neo
I should.
Complete Edition. Tell me about it.
I'm speaking of platinum trophies, I'm kind of near completion on one of mine. So I'm near completion.
Oof.
Oh my god,
Oh
that
my
was so
God.
bad.
Okay,
I'm
well.
sorry. I just put us in the cringe compilation. Oh no. Oh, I fucking blew it. I'm so sorry. So Neo Complete
I
Edition
gave
comes
you a
out in
good
November.
segue, and you chose
Oh.
instead to not use
Well,
that one and
I'm not
like
gonna repeat.
create a worse one.
Oh my god.
Katie's gonna get a talking to after the stream now.
I really do. I need to be sat down, talked with.
People listening to this cast are pulling over their car right now.
They're sitting on their bus and their commute listening, and they just recoil in their seat. Bus
You're
driver is
hearing-
freaked out.
Yeah, everyone's looking at them because they just audibly gasped.
It's just a silent bus ride, and then you hear, "Oh, what the."
Oh.
Man,
Tell
I'm
me
sorry,
about
guys.
this game.
All right. So Neo came out as a speaking of Sony being fickle with their exclusives, I cannot fucking believe I just did it again. I thought I had a good one. I was going to talk about how Sony's been like fickle with their like exclusives, but
You're
Neo
one
coming out
news
as a
article
PS4.
late.
Yeah, right. I can't talk about, speaking of BlizzCon, Neo I can't go back that far. But yeah, Neo Complete Edition, it was a PS4 exclusive, which came out early 2017, which surprisingly is going to make its way onto Steam. It's going to have all the DLC that came after the game. It's going to launch at $49.99, which is a pretty bargain deal for that game. I haven't played it, but just visually and from everything I've seen, the demos I've played, they had about 3 demos that came out for this game. And looking at the screenshots too, oh my god, it's incredible. Especially that last one. Look at this enemy design. Boom. You got to appreciate good enemy design, people. But yeah, this it's a great game coming out on PC. That will come out November 7th. Next up is Sonic Forces. So Sonic had a pretty good 2017 so far with Sonic Mania, which came out earlier, which was an excellent 2D game. Now Sonic's trying again in 3D, and Sonic Forces is looking a little weird. Gameplay wise, it looks like a more refined Sonic Generations. And I actually didn't talk about this earlier, but I downloaded the demo, which we talked about last week, which stops you at a minute of progress in any level. And I played that for a bit. I got about a minute in before, and I was unable to complete any of the levels in the allotted time. But
I really walked into that one, didn't I?
Yeah. No, but I couldn't really give an honest opinion on the game because I really just felt more anger than anything, because any second I'd start to get really into it or reasonably enjoy it, thank you for playing. You're done. But yeah, I mean, from what I played, it looks, I really enjoyed Sonic Generations. That was a great game. Apparently from some leaks, people are pissed. I decided to look at the Steam curators on Steam pre-release. That's a terrible idea. Don't do it. There's literally this account called Is It Shit for Steam curators. And it literally is going through every single game and saying yes or no. And they're making some dumbass choices. Like Nier Automata, it says yes. Borderlands 1, yes. Borderlands 2, yes. Wolfenstein 2, yes. It's just, it's the equivalent of like of a 4chan user just wanted to, if a YouTube comment section was amalgamated.
This does not sound like a credible account.
Yeah, definitely not. So, and then their Sonic Forces has had kind of its street data has been broken quite a bit, and Polygon actually published a review for this game, even though Sega was not giving out review copies, which means Polygon must have gotten an early copy from, it could be a retailer giving it out early, or I've heard some things about the Australian eShop for the
Mhm.
Switch, giving out copies early, which is kind of sketchy. But they gave it a 5 out of 10. I
Mm.
mean, granted, it's Polygon, and you
Sonic has
kind of have to
always had
take.
trouble with 3D for some reason.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, he's had some good games. I mean, Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations, those follow this very similar gameplay style than this game, and those were both fantastic games. So it seems logical that this would do well, and it's launching at $40. It's not going to be a full price $60 game. So hopefully, I'm considering picking this up as well. So hopefully it's good. But this comes out November 7th as well. If you pre-order now, you get the Shadow costume for your DLC, and you get Episode Shadow, people.
Wow.
You can live out the edge.
Can't miss
Also in
can't miss
Sonic
out on that.
Forces. Yeah, don't want to overlook that. Also, Sonic Forces' main gimmick is making your own Sonic OC and playing as them in the game. That's the huge draw. So if you ever wanted to, your old DeviantArt character, bring them to life, you finally can. All right, next up is Football Manager 2018. Next up is Need for Speed Payback. And next up, I mean, what is there to really say? I don't think any of us have any experience in Football Manager Football Manager the series. It's coming out November 10th, but it's got quite a few pre-release reviews. Apparently, this was early access. I think.
I guess so.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it was in early access.
Huh. Okay. But yeah, it's got mixed reviews right now. But yeah, I'll simply leave it at this release is officially November 10th at $50. So check that out. Also, Need for Speed Payback, which I mean, I'm not one that goes out of their way to follow racing games, but I heard about this at E3 and then nothing after. But yeah, the newest Need for Speed. Yeah, it has. I mean, I haven't really seen any trailers at all. I'm sure in the coming days, this comes out November 10th. I'm sure EA will dump the budget for just filling this everywhere, ads on YouTube, anything
standard edition or deluxe edition. You're gonna have to choose. Man. Apparently, there's get a 5% rep bonus and a 10% discount on in-game content with the deluxe edition. EA really.
Apparently, if you're a member of Origin Access, you can play this game November 7th if you have the deluxe edition. So paying $20 more to play the game early, that's what our gaming industry has come to, people. That's great.
What really sold me was the exclusive customizations. In the deluxe edition, you can modify your ride with a unique license plate, leaderboard icon, and NOS color you can use on up to 5 cars.
Oh man.
5?
Why look, guys, why even offer a standard edition? Okay, this is basically required functionality.
It's a waste of time. If you walk into your local GameStop and you pick up a standard edition, bring it to the dude at the counter, he'll literally say, "What is this?"
Yeah, he's gonna slap you in the face.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's gonna give you $20 and say, "Go get the deluxe edition."
He will feel so much pity. It's like when you're at like a gas station and you don't have enough change, and the guy next to you're like, "Hey man, I'll help you out. Here's a quarter." It's like, I don't have the money for the deluxe edition. I got you, man. Don't worry. It's only the right thing to do as a good Samaritan. But yeah, and next up, Killing Floor Incursion. I haven't heard about this, but it is a VR Killing Floor coming out. Just going off of gameplay, I haven't really seen too much. I'm looking at the trailer and the screenshots, and it looks like it looks like a proper adaptation of Killing Floor into VR. But I mean, if it is just standing, it looks like mostly standing in one spot, fighting off zombies, maybe rotating through a couple different areas. But I mean, visually, it's all there. It's it looks like they're actually going for a story-driven kind of experience this time. But it does have an endless mode. It's solo or co-op. So we'll see how that works out.
Pretty cool. And yeah, I could see Killing Floor being a really interesting experience in VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the potential's definitely there. Yeah, especially when getting like Z time and going for headshots in VR. That's got to be That's gonna be perfect. It sounds as much of perfect as like super hot VR would sound, to be honest.
Only thing
But
that I think is tough here is like the pre-purchasing you get 15% off, but it's normally $40, and so even with the bonus, it's $34. Like that's more expensive than Killing Floor 2.
yeah,
I just think, I mean, this is like a problem with the VR industry at large, but I'm not sure I would take a gamble. Even like I love Killing Floor, but $34 for what is basically a VR only experience, like that's
yeah,
more expensive than your fully fledged complete sequel game. Like Killing Floor
exactly.
2, I would recommend at $30, no problem. But $40 for for some new experience that's like maybe cool, but I just think that's a lot to ask.
Yeah, regardless of the amount of content in this game, of any VR games, I feel like most people are just going to play for maybe 2 or 3 hours, if even that, at a time. So, yeah, that's a little steeper than one would assume. But yeah, November 7th, if you're willing to dip your toes into some more Killing Floor. Finally, we have a game that everybody should completely stay clear of and never should keep their toes in their socks far away from this game. I've got it in the document with a strike through the title, because I was really debating with myself whether or not to talk about this game. But I'd like to pride myself on pointing out all the shit on Steam. For instance, last week we talked about Pickle Rick on Steam, which has since been removed and is nowhere to be found. Thankfully, most likely hit with some sort of copyright. But so coming out November 7th is a game coming to early access. It's called PlayerUnknown: Zombie. And PlayerUnknown is spelled in all caps with a 4 where the O should be.
That's not
Therefore, avoiding all similarities to PUBG. And yeah, PlayerUnknown Zombie is just going off of the immaculately crafted trailer I watched. It is a single player only, open world, zombie killing, crafting, adventure, action game.
voxel based.
Voxel based.
I am.
They're showing off crafting in the trailer, and the guy literally makes a simple house and backs away and reflects on his work. As expected, the game looks like absolute dog shit.
I'm positive this could not possibly be just an asset flip.
Right. Yeah. It looks it looks so much like that.
I mean, how could you ever expect that from a renowned developer such as La 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 Zero, which you may recognize the name from their previous publication on October 11th, 2017, Bitcoin Clicker.
Yeah.
Feel like a real miner, earn for the video card and overclocking it, so she mined bitcoins for you.
Yeah,
it's not even a sentence.
Oh my god, who is she? When was she introduced? And it's even more of that in the page for PlayerUnknown Zombie. It's, did you wonder what would happen if humanity disappeared from the face of the earth? No. Alas, but this is not a dream, it's reality. So they've called you out on your bullshit. They're saying, have you ever wondered? No? Like, as if someone has answered, no, I have not wondered this. And they just continue as if nothing happened. The open world will not let you get bored, as it contains a lot of mysteries, such as find weapons, collect fruits and vegetables, take the meat of animals or take them into account, and finally, fight the zombies.
Well, that's hard to read that or like put that together with a straight face. Like,
yeah.
It contains a lot of mysteries, like collecting fruits and vegetables.
Oh my god.
They have a little early access FAQ that man, you just, approximately how long will this game be in early access? We will have to completely finish the game. Tentatively, this is the second quarter of 2018.
Oh my god.
So one has to wonder, did they mean the second quarter or did they mean the fourth quarter? Hard to know.
Second quarter. Tooth quarter. Huh.
Yeah.
They plan to add more different platforms.
All right, this I don't know how
Yeah,
much this costs, but whatever it is, it's too much.
Yeah, and they even say in the one question, how much will this be? How will this be priced differently during and after early access? After exiting early access, the price will increase about 2 times. It is also possible that the price will rise during development. Damn, you know what? Good luck, guys. I really hope you find success with your obvious cash in on what's popular at the time. I just feel like some sort of duty to call out the bullshit of Steam. Like, I mean, there's definitely a lot of terrible games coming out every single day, but occasionally you find a gem like this. You got to look for the broken English. You got to look for the obvious ripoff of what's popular. And yeah, that's PlayerUnknown Zombie.
Well,
If you're
I
interested.
mean, you know what? That is, I could only describe that as a promising start to the PlayerUnknown series.
Oh my god, PlayerUnknown.
Hold on.
Is the force supposed to be an A?
I just went to another one of the games from this publisher, also in early access, and it has the exact same early access FAQ.
Oh.
Except under the question of approximately how long will this game be in early access, we will have to completely finish the game. Tentatively, this is the first quarter of 2018.
Oh my god.
Plot
That
thickens.
is insane.
One.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at it too. It's not Bitcoin Clicker is it's also it's not what you were talking about. It's the exact same, except they change how the full version is going to differ. Wow,
you have to worry buying a game like this if their focus is really on the game you bought, with all with these other rich pieces of intellectual property at play. It's you never know if your game might get dropped because Bitcoin Clicker is doing so well that they decide to focus their development efforts on that instead.
Yeah. Earlier we talked about Steam reworking how they allow games onto the market. Well, I hope they got what they wanted with shit like this Lala Studios or La Zero. Damn. Can only wait for you could say this is the Dark Souls of zombie open world single player shooters.
Okay, the new releases section is over.
All right, it's time.
You know what? First viewer question here is a nice change of pace because we get to choose what video game we put into an esports scene. Now, my choice here, obviously, PlayerUnknown Zombie, but let's assume that that's not a choice. It's not technically out yet.
Right.
So Whackman.
We'll have to wait for the second quarter.
Whackman asks, which video game, past or present, would you love to see develop a massive esports scene?
Bitcoin Clicker.
No, stop. No, that's also early access. Doesn't count.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, we have to follow an official rule set here. Now, I don't know if early access games count. I guess they do. For this question, I guess they do.
Okay. Well, Oh, I know instantly. Blur, baby. One of the best racing games ever made, abandoned by Activision, studio shut down, never to be released again aside from a mobile game. That game was the shit. It was like realistic racing, but with Mario Kart power-ups. God. Blur 2 is like one of those games every single E3, I hope and pray that the stars will align and someone will say, like, even as an accident, someone will say Blur 2 on stage.
By accident. That's good enough for you.
Just exactly. A single mention of Blur 2. Like, if someone even says, like, it'll blur the line and my eyes will widen, I'll get goosebumps. So, but my dream is yet to come true. Yeah, but Blur was a really awesome game. It actually had some really good tech about drifting with the boost power-ups, where, like, if you did a successful drift, you would just get another boost. And so, like, a lot of the pros in that game would just be drifting and boosting the entire game. So I feel like that game could really, and there's some awesome crashes too. Like, I think if we just take the entire PUBG player base and throw them into Blur, I would love to see what they could do. But sadly, Blur has since been taken off of Steam a long time ago. And you know what's so maddening about that? You can go on steamcharts.com and type in Blur, and there are people playing Blur on Steam.
Yeah, if they
But I
still own it.
literally have, yeah, if they still have, they can still play it. But I have literally no way of getting this.
Had to be born earlier.
Yeah, I had to have a gaming PC earlier. Oh man, come back to us, Blur. We need you.
My answer here is easy. It is
Yeah.
Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. Probably the best.
Ooh.
I mean, basically, it just existed too early. It existed before esports was what we know it as today. But you know, it was there back in the day of OGL and the team warfare ladder, and no one's really playing for money here, just playing for fun. But I think that game was like such a pure team-based game, like 6v6 or 7v7, like a really good. I think would do really well today as like a high skill type game, because there's no aim down sights. It's class based, but like not class based to the point of something like Overwatch, where the classes are super crazy different. But I just think that game, I would love to be able to watch, top players Twitch broadcasts of a game like that, because it's just such a pure shooter. It's based on the Quake engine. So it was like, it basically, if that game had existed years later, it would have I think developed a reasonable esports scene. But it was just like it had what esports was at the time, which is ladders and leagues and stuff. But it existed too early. Only game that really made it out of those days was CS, and that's like the only first person shooter that still exists in like today's current climate, that also existed more or less back in the day. So ET, that'd be my choice.
Okay.
All right. Gotcha.
I think I'm gonna go with Total War Shogun 2.
Okay, bringing back
if
the
you're not familiar-
RTS.
Yeah, so it's the big scale, like large scale RTS. One player is controlling a huge army, fighting against another player controlling a huge army, and specifically Shogun 2, because basically every faction had the exact same units. So that game was very well balanced, and I'd be very interested to see just how creative people could get with their army compositions and how they could manipulate all the different maps, because the game was pretty casual, but I feel that there's enough, because the game was so balanced, it forced people to rely more on how they were going to use all of their different units and use the map to their advantage, but never really got to that point because the multiplayer was not very well, didn't have a huge player base, and it wasn't very well done. But even if the gameplay was uninteresting, I just kind of want to know if this game had potential in the first place and what that would look like.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's
Cool.
that's an interesting choice for massive esports scene. It would
Massive.
definitely be a very alternate reality from what we live in for a game like Total War to develop what I would describe as a massive esports scene.
I just want to know what that alternate timeline would be like.
I think if every person who ever purchased Total War Shogun 2 participated in the esports scene, I still think it would be a challenge to describe it as massive. But you know what? That's it's your answer. It's your question. So good answers there. Last question we have here from our own Drake, Def Not Drake on Twitter. He asks, what's your opinion on catering to casual versus competitive audiences in modern games when it comes to how much time must be spent playing? And I have to wonder if the context for this question is maybe based on Destiny 2, which I feel like is kind of maybe tries to straddle that line a little bit with like the amount of grinding you have to do. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let me see.
I think that it's hard to know. I think it's probably hard to know going into development of a game if your game is going to hit casual or competitive. Like, I think, I mean, we've talked about this already ad nauseum, but like Lawbreakers, Lawbreakers is going for a competitive audience, and
Yeah.
like if you lean into the competitive side, it's I worry that you almost focus on the wrong thing. Lawbreakers, by all accounts, like pretty good game, and could have succeeded competitively, but without the quote unquote casual gamers picking up your game and at least trying it and building out your player base, like not all of your player base is going to be hugely competitive. So I think it's hard to cater to competitive without also making a friendly, accessible experience. But then on the other hand, you have a game like PUBG that blows up this year, and I don't think PUBG is friendly at all to casual gamers, but they still pick it up. And I don't
Yeah.
think PUBG was catering to a casual audience, but it still succeeded with a casual audience. So I don't know. Like if you're developing a new game, I think he asks how, like, when it comes to how much time must be spent playing. I don't know. I think that a really good, well-built game, basically the difference between casual and competitive audiences is how much time you spend playing. But not necessarily because it requires a grind, but because it has a high skill ceiling that requires like honing in on your skills and perfecting the gameplay. So
Right.
like I think that's why I think a really good, well-made game, like for instance CS:GO, I think falls into this category. You can, literally, you could put your mother in front of a computer and tell her to play CS:GO, and she'd probably be bad, but she'd get it, right? Literally, like just buy a
Yeah.
gun, or don't even buy a gun. Like you start with a pistol,
Right.
and she could play for 30 minutes and she'd get a kill, right? She wouldn't do well, but she'd get a kill. She would understand the premise. But obviously, there's a vast difference between her and someone who plays all the time and gets really good. But the fundamental game is still the same. So I think it's hard to find a game that hits both of those audiences in a really compelling way. And it kind of like I think if you're building your game to be competitive and you're like almost requiring people spend time with it to be competitive, I think that's probably a bad formula to follow.
Yeah, it's tricky because you want to like have a game that well, let's talk about like specifically fighting games for a second. You want to have it be approachable, but also you want to have it have that like giant skill cap. The two complete opposite ends of the spectrum on this are something like you've got Smash Bros. Anyone can pick up Smash Bros. And dick around. You've got attack and special attack, and then you hit the stick and the button at the same time for a smash attack, and it just is all different depending on which way you move the stick. And it's like that simple control scheme that applies to every single character. They've all got the basic principles, like your up B is your recovery, and bottom B is usually like a downward attack or like a utility sort of thing. It's all pretty one size fits all kind of gameplay. But then you've got something like Tekken 7, which I could just absolutely not get into because the act of juggling and have how every character has like 300 different moves and learning
Right.
different attacks. That was just a game I could not get into because I honestly couldn't put in enough time to, because a huge part of fighting games are learning the cast. It was just a waste of time for me. I mean, no, it wasn't. Not. I shouldn't say waste of time. I should say I didn't want to put in that insane amount of time to learn every single character inside and out for these countless moves and juggles that so you've got the worst and the best as far as like catering to Smash Bros, which a lot of people don't even consider a fighting game because it's so competitive, or so easy to accessible. But
I think that's a good point. Like with something like Tekken, the the complexity comes from just the number of different stuff they put in the game, like these these huge move sets, and like it becomes more about memorizing than about just like perfecting the gameplay. And I think that's a pretty good comparison. Like Smash Bros, that game is basically dissected down to every little detail is known about the game, but it still has a thriving scene because the gameplay, like there are enough interesting outcomes based on what that game is that like it caters to casuals and competitive players alike.
Exactly.
Whereas
Like the amount of
Tekken is just so there's so much to learn that you don't want to have to spend time learning a ton of different like move sets and things. Like that doesn't necessarily make a good
Exactly.
competitive game.
Yeah, because like Smash Bros, you pick up a character, you learn all their moves in maybe 10, 20 minutes, and then it goes straight into how well are you going to utilize these moves and combo into other things, or utilize them well. Whereas for Tekken, it's going to take weeks to learn entire, like to get a good grasp of that game. So yeah, I think it's about finding a fine line there. Like for instance, Smash Bros. Melee, that game just continues to be one of the best fighting games to watch in tournaments. So I think if games can strive more to be like, like Smash Bros, where it's accessible and also there's plenty of room for growth in a competitive environment, I feel like that's the balance you got to hit for sure.
What do you think, Ying? Opinions?
No, I think you guys are right. It comes down to the quality of executing a few simple mechanics as opposed to being able to, as you said, memorize so many that it feels like when there's a lot of controls, it's introducing like an artificial difficulty, because it's not necessarily that you did something wrong. It's that there was so much you maybe could have done or didn't know you could do. It's not really a failure on your part as much as it is the game is just confusing or there's a lot to it. So I'm not sure that, yeah. So I think if a good game will be accessible, because regardless of whether the fact, like if you're executing on a simple mechanic poorly or you're doing it well, that should be the difference, as opposed to, knowing, as you said in Tekken, a million different moves.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think catering to a casual audience feels like sort of a reductionist way to look at what I think developers are probably looking to do, which is make a game accessible to a new player. Like catering to a casual audience is sort of, I think, a different side of the same coin. And I think you want to cater to casual players, but you don't want that to mean that the depth is so shallow that like competitive players can't build on the mechanics that are there to to basically stomp casual players once you've really learned the game in and out. But also I think that's like so easy to talk about in the context of games that are already out there and games that have done that well. I think building a new game and trying to know all of those things beforehand is like nearly impossible, because there have been examples of games that might have done it well and still didn't see success. So it's like there's no guarantee that even if you do everything well, that anyone's going to care about your game on a competitive level.
Right. Exactly.
Well,
yeah,
excellent.
great question, dude. That's a great
good
discussion.
Good couple questions there. Thank you for sending those in. You can send us questions every week when we ask for them on Twitter a few hours before we go live, or you can email us at community@kbmod.com throughout the week. If you have a little longer question or you think you'll forget, we check that inbox for questions as well. So coming up on the end of the podcast here, this is normally where we would try and feature someone from the iTunes podcast review section. But no reviews this week. We've been on a little bit of a drought, but you know what? We still want your ratings. And I see, there are people rating even when you don't leave reviews. So I'm going to keep talking about this section because I want your 5-star ratings. Look, if you don't want to leave us a review, that's fine. But just leave us 5 stars. Just don't leave a review. That's fine too. But if you want, let's say, roughly 15 to 30 seconds of fame, potentially on a future podcast, you can leave us a review on iTunes. You just got to search the podcast section for KBMOD. We should be pretty much the only result that shows up. And if you can't find us from there, maybe don't leave us a review, because technology is pretty easy when it comes down to that. Leave us whatever you want. We've gotten poems, we've gotten heartfelt messages, we've gotten some truly awful things, but all of them, we appreciate and read all of them, and maybe you can get featured on a future cast. So that's going to do it for episode 299. We will be back next week. I believe Scott will be back with us, and we'll learn all about interesting baby gifts. And maybe episode 300, perhaps our chance to pivot to the up and coming infant and child market, and maybe get out of games. So you'll have to listen next week to know if we actually undertake that adventure. But it will be episode 300. I don't know if we're doing anything special, but it is a special number, so you should show up.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than to commemorate the fact that we've done this thing 300 times.
Yeah, definitely. We tossed around some ideas of just fun things to have do during the cast, and we wanted to kind of reflect on not only our best moments but your guys' best moments. So if there's any, you think about KBMOD, you think of the best moments. You think about giant vats of Chef Boyardee in college. You think about awesome moments. So anything that you hold dear to your heart, your favorite moments of the podcast, we want to hear them. We want to talk about them. So yeah, our emails are open, our Twitter's open. Our Facebook page is going to start being more active. We're just KBMOD on Facebook, so make sure you like us on there. And hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yeah, that plays in nicely. We do have all the social media. We're most active on Twitter. We're at KBMOD Gaming. Like KD said, we want if you have any funny moments from the podcast, if you've been listening for a while, tweet at us and let us know. We'll put together a little something for next episode. Let's talk about some funny moments, and if you have any moments, like Katie said, that have been meaningful to you personally, those are cool too. So send us those. We're at KBMOD Gaming, Facebook.com/KBMOD, and we got a YouTube page, YouTube.com/KBMOD Gaming. Of course, you can find all of these things if you just go to the website, KBMOD.com. That's where you can find everywhere that we are. And we have the build guides. We've got content. Didn't have much content this week in particular, but there is a lot of content on the website in general. So
yes,
there's always a reason for you to be visiting KBMOD, even if it doesn't look like this week. All right, let's just say that. So we will see you next week for episode 300. Until then, we've got KDZen is at KDZen_. Believe on all platforms now, getting that consistent branding. Another man with consistent branding at Yingity Yang on Twitter and Twitch. And I am at Volition. That's VOL1 AON. So thanks for joining us for episode 299. And we will hopefully see you next week for episode 300. Until then, we will see you next time.
Yatta! Oh my God. That was...